So, we're going to talk about building wealth and taking control of your money. And if you're interested in taking control of your money, you do need a system. But you don't need just any system. You see, the problem with most money advice today is that it focuses on superficial lists like the top 10 things you can do with your money. And it doesn't get to the core of really what you need for a lifelong transformation with money. And so this video is not going to be a list of the top 10 things to do with your money, because that's not what you really need to start your wealth building path. What you need is the context for building a system that lasts for a lifetime. And the first step is the most critical because it serves as the foundation for everything else that you're going to do with your money. For this first step, I want you to imagine that you are a mountain climber looking to climb one of the tallest mountains in the world. And there are three things that you would probably answer if you were this mountain climber. The first is, why is it that I want to climb this mountain in the first place? You would need a really strong reason for wanting to put all of that effort into climbing a mountain. The second part is, how quickly are you looking to summit this peak? And the third is, when am I looking to do this? And when do I want to be done climbing this mountain by? Maybe this year or the next year or in the next few months. So it's the same thing with our wealth building journey. And this first step is at the top of the mountain, and I call it your big vision. It's going to answer three questions, and it's the critical piece of informing everything else about my system, where you're answering three things. The first thing that you're answering is, why is it that I want to build wealth? Because the truth is that building wealth is incredibly difficult. The biggest rule with this why and this first step is that your why has to be more powerful than the impulsive version of you that spends money on whatever seems attractive to you at the time and whatever you're looking at in the short term. It's like if you were an Olympic bodybuilder and you have a powerful why for wanting to achieve some powerful lift, right? So instead of skipping out on the gym and eating a junk meal, you stay really controlled and diligent about what you're headed towards. And it's the same thing with your money. You have to have that why to overcome the temptation that we all have to waste our money in ways that don't help us build wealth. And so you need an incredibly powerful why for why are you wanting to build wealth? And if you go back to my last video, we talked about the wealth definition, where we broke it into an acronym called TOOL, where T stands for your time, O stands for your ownership, O stands for your options, and then it all empowers a life's vision. And so you have to have a why that says my time is more important. The options that I want in my life are more important. The ownership and control I want in my life are more important than the material comforts that you can buy in the moment, like buying a brand new car or clothes or a fancy restaurant purchase. Those are all short-term things that tempt us to get off of the wealth building path. And so the first part is having that powerful why. And you can do this at any age. And I'll have more videos about how to really help envision this, but you can do it at 18, you can do it at 70 years old. It doesn't really matter. The power in it is really establishing just why you're passionate about building wealth. Okay, so that's the first part of the Your Life Vision step. The second part is figuring out how much money is enough. What is the number that you're shooting for? Just like the mountain climber is trying to figure out how quickly are they trying to get there and the total elevation that they're getting to, you need to understand how much is enough money for you that you're working towards. And then the third part is figuring out how quickly are you looking to get there, because if you're looking to get to $1 million in the next month, that's maybe you go rob a bank. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But that looks a lot different than, say, you're an 18-year-old with a vision that you want to be a millionaire by the time you're 40. And you can come up with a strategy over the next 22 years to invest your money wisely and watch it grow on its own. And it becomes a lot easier. And so it's the same thing as a mountain climber. If you're looking to sprint up the mountain, the athletic capability that you need is a lot more powerful than if you were to walk it at a leisurely pace. So that's the first part of the system. And the more powerful you can make this why, and the more precision you can bring to how much money do I need? When do I want to get to this point? The better everything else flows within your system. And this first step is the part that most people always fail at. Like I said at the beginning of the video, most people focus on the superficial, like the top 10 lists of things to do with your money. And that's all surface level. It doesn't go deep into why you're wanting to build wealth and the specificity that you need around where you're headed. And this will answer questions like, how much money do I need to be saving? What do I do with my money? Well, it helps answer all of those questions when you have a clear purpose and a clear direction that you're headed, and some more specificity around how quickly you want to get there. So that's the first step. Now let's go to the second part, and this is going to go down a little bit on the mountain, and it's going to talk about the next part of the framework or the blueprint, which is strategy. Here are the 5 ingredients that go into the key strategies that you need to enable this vision that you've just created. So the first strategy is your earning potential. So this is just how much money are you making today? Is it enough to meet the goal that you have of climbing this mountain? Or are you needing to make more money to support your plan? The second ingredient is your savings. And this is really crucial because it comes down to how much of the money you make are you able to save? And the lie that a lot of people have is that you need to make more money in order to build wealth. That's actually not true. There's so many people that make a huge salary, but they find more and more ways to spend all of their money. And this is what I call the hedonic treadmill or the hamster wheel of money, where you continue to make more and more money as you get older and you build your skills, and then you find better and better ways to spend all of that money. And you actually get to a place where you save less than someone that might just be a little bit more frugal that makes a much smaller salary. In fact, in my own life, this was a big moment for me because, I for the longest time, I had an hourly job. I didn't make a lot of money. And then I finally got a real job out of college. And I actually found myself to be in more debt than I ever had been. And it was this moment where it exploded my entire life, because I realized I've done all of this work for a job and I put all of this effort into growing a skill, and I finally get a higher paying job and I'm more behind than I ever have been. And so the magic moment for me was realizing, man, it's not how much money I have, it's learning how to be artful with the money that I get. And that goes back to the first video that I released where we talked about money is not just a dollar. When you look at a dollar, you need to see it as your life's energy or your time. And so you need to honor that exchange by being able to save it and build wealth. Okay, so that's the second strategy, is learning how to save money, how to manage expenses, how to be better with the money that you have coming in. And then the third part is, how are you investing that money to grow wealth over time? Going back to the wealth acronym, I talked about ownership as being a key part of building wealth. Well, it's also ownership of physical assets that grow over time. And these dollars that are going into an asset are giving you money when you don't have to work for them, because you're buying something that's productive and giving you value versus you dumping money into something that actually gets less and less valuable over time. Like I mentioned in one of my last videos, a car is a great example of that because it depreciates over time. So you buy this thing and it becomes less and less valuable. The goal in this investment strategy is that you're buying things that get more and more valuable over time, so that you don't always have to work for your money and that your money is actually working for you. Okay, so that's the third strategy. The fourth strategy is all around your plan. And so this really influences the last three strategies we just talked about. But think about this like you are that bodybuilder. Every time you go to the gym, you have a plan. You have a plan for your week. You have a plan for your month. You know how much you're going to do of one workout for a certain body part and what you're trying to go for and where you're trying to get to in a year. It's the same thing with your money. And so building kind of a coaching plan that goes into, how much money do I want to be making? How much money do I want to be saving? If I'm not saving enough money, what do I do? Where do my investment dollars go? So building out this plan that keeps you accountable, just like if you were keeping yourself accountable to a workout plan. It's the same thing. And so this strategy goes into everything that helps you track and monitor your plan. And then the fifth and final strategy is actually, in my opinion, one of the most important. Of course, the first three strategies are what you're doing in the world, right? So you have to take action. But this fifth strategy gets into your mindset. And you have to just kind of trust me on this, but if I could give you a weighted importance, mindset is 80 to 90% of the wealth building journey. It's not the actions you take. It's the why that you have behind why you're taking those actions. And so growing your mindset gets into why you're building wealth, how you identify with money. We live in a society where there's so much toxic relationships with money. Corporations are always tempting you to try to spend your money and to give up your money. And if you grew up poor, you have a relationship with money where you never felt like maybe you had enough, or when you compared yourself to other people, you're trying to do things with money to show that you have worth. And so there's all of these mindsets that you grow over a lifetime, especially when you don't have a wealth building mindset, that you have to start trying to unlearn, and you have to do it in a positive way. There's a lot of mindsets out there that form negative relationships with money. In fact, Dave Ramsey's system, I'm glad it's worked for some people, but I'm not a huge fan of it because it builds, in my opinion, a really negative relationship with money. It kind of shames you for the debt that you have and your current situation. It would be like if someone's trying to get in shape and they do it by saying, "Oh, I'm such a failure. I'm so overweight." And then you kind of prod yourself along by shaming yourself. The art is in learning what sustainable growth looks like. And that's what this strategy talks about. It's how do I grow the right mindset that helps me get stronger positively while growing in my situation so that I can stay sustainable over a lifetime. And that is an art. And I haven't gotten there yet. It's something that we're always growing, but it's the key strategy that keeps everything else and all the other strategies going. Is how do I grow that mindset that keeps me healthy with money, that doesn't use my money as an emotional crutch. So like when I'm feeling bad, I go out and buy something. It uses money in a productive way that goes back to this big life vision I have that honors the dollars I make towards a vision that I have for myself. All right, so we have the big life's vision, and we have the 5 strategies that influence that vision to help make it happen. Going down the mountain again, the third part of this system are the goals that you have related to each strategy. And you can think about this as lanes on a mountain. So for instance, underneath your earning potential, let's say you've identified that where you want to get to with your wealth, you have to make more money. And then that gets into the goals that you set that are customized to your situation that walk through how to make this happen. So for instance, these goals could be, how do I grow my mastery in a job or in a skill set that would pay me more money? Under your savings plan, you need a goal for how much are you actually saving? Do you know what your savings rate is? When I first started, I didn't know what a savings rate was or how to calculate it. And we'll get into that in a future video. The details don't matter. The point here is that underneath each strategy, you have to have a goal for how you make that strategy happen. A goal for your coaching plan could be, I need a monthly or quarterly check-in with myself that looks at the progress that I've made with my plan to earn more money, or my plan to save money, or looking at how I've invested my money. And then what mindset do I have going on? So you could look at better mindset around like a journaling practice, or different goals that assess how am I doing from a sustainability perspective. Right. So the fourth piece that sits at the bottom of our mountain are our tactics. And the tactics are the daily actions that you are going to take that influence the goals that you have, impact the strategies, and ultimately deliver on that big life's vision that you have. And here's the thing, most financial advice, getting into the lists of the top 10 things to do with your money, are at this tactical level. They sit really at the surface and they never go deeper than that. which can be okay because at the tactical level, there's a lot of great advice out there that can help you answer basic questions like, how do I get into investing? Or how do I open a brokerage account? Or what's the best budgeting software? All of these tactics are the things that enable you to take steps at a higher level on your mountain. And so it's just understanding how it all integrates together. And to give you an example of a few different tactics that would ladder underneath the different goals that we just talked about, I'll show you the diagram. For instance, under your earning potential, maybe you did want to grow your skill and mastery. So you decide to focus on going back to school or negotiating a pay raise or what it would take to do a job change to a different company that might pay you more. In the saving and expense management side, maybe you want to figure out how to increase your credit score and the impact that that can have on saving you money on interest. Like I said earlier, maybe you build a journaling practice within your mindset and sustainability strategy. The point is that the 5 strategies that sit in the second part of this diagram will be the same for everybody. And then you start to customize the goals and the tactics based on your unique situation. Fifth and final part of my system is to understand that all 4 of these pieces all fit together and they're all informing each other all of the time. So this is like a living, breathing system. And the more you grow in your wealth skills, the more each of these inform each other. The big life's vision that drives everything else, your big vision is always going to change through life. My vision when I first started this journey is completely different than where I'm at 14 years later. And that's great. So as you grow and you get more nuanced in the way you view money and wealth and what makes you happy and brings contentment, you can get more informed about what your vision for your life is. The point is that money as a tool is empowering whatever that vision is. And so you just don't want money to become a limitation on your vision. It's something that can help empower you. And so your vision's always changing. That influences what you're doing in each of these strategies. The point is that all of these things change and they influence each other, and you're going to continue to grow the skills, the tactics, and refine your goals, and it all informs on itself. And so the more that you can bring specificity to each of these pieces, and the more you learn and the more you understand where each of these pieces fit, the better your wealth plan is going to be. And I think the last part I'd like to leave you with is really keep this plan front and center because it contextualizes information you'll receive. So, you can find experts that are great at budgeting, or they give you stock investing tips, or maybe there's people that are career coaches that are going to try to help, grow your skills so you can get paid more money. All of these are good, but if you don't understand how they all integrate, it really is an art that you have to be kind of the painter of. So just understand where people's skills are, and when someone's teaching you something, understand where it fits within this wealth framework so that you can pick up the right pieces. You don't get distracted by information that's not helpful for you in your system, and you don't believe that maybe just one part of this is the most important. Because it is living, breathing, and always changing, it's not a one size fits all. And that's the biggest weakness to a lot of the financial advice that I see people get, is they approach a financial plan as a one size fits all. Going back to the bodybuilder example or climbing our mountain, we all have different bodies and we all have to change our workout plans to fit our own life situation and our own capabilities and what works for us. It's the same thing with your money. There's not a rule that says you need to save 15% of your money or 20%. That one number actually might be 50 or 60% savings for some people, or it might be less. It really depends on your situation. And so the point is that you use this system to design a response to your situation that meets you where you're at to begin with, and it continues to change as you grow. And that's the most important part of any financial system that you're looking at, is don't get stuck on a one size fits all rule. Understand the skills that you need and the different levers you need to pull to be able to customize your own system for your own situation. And that's what this framework gives you. And so I hope the overview of my system has been helpful for you to contextualize the skills that we'll be growing together on this channel, the skills that you might already have, or identified areas where you need to skill up in a specific strategy, or you want a specific tactic to help build a goal for yourself. The point is that this is something that you can continue to grow on over time, and there's not a one size fits all. And so it's something that the more you can customize for your own situation, the more powerful it can be as a place of change in your own life. And so as we exit 2024, I'm wishing you the best going into 2025. I hope that this system is something that you can incorporate into your own financial journey, and that this channel can be a positive part of helping you change for the better with money.